Before Europe arrived, Africa had universities, trade empires, and cities larger than London. Here's what got erased. Not just erased from textbooks, but replaced with a version of history that made Africa look like it began when Europe noticed it. But Africa did not need to be noticed to exist. Africa documented itself. Africa explained itself. Africa understood itself. This story is not built on outsiders discovering Africa's greatness. This is Africa speaking for itself. Through its manuscripts, through its oral traditions, through its architecture, through its preserved systems of knowledge. And yes, where necessary, others observed it, but they did not define it. So let's begin where Africans recorded their own world. Long before colonial archives, Africa had its own systems of documentation. In Timbuktu, for instance, scholars wrote texts like the Tariq al-Sudan and the Tariq al-Fatash, chronicles authored by West African historians such as Abd al-Rahman al-Sadi and Mahmoud Kati. These were non-European interpretations. They were African intellectual histories written in the 16th and 17th centuries. At Sankore University, knowledge was not centralized in a single building, but spread across a network of scholars and private libraries. Families in Timbuktu preserved manuscripts for generations, texts on law, like the Maliki jurisprudence, for instance, astronomy, medicine, ethics and governance. Even today, Malian families still hold these texts, some passed down for over 500 years. This is Africa preserving its own intellectual lineage. Similarly, in North Africa, University of Al-Qarawiyyin was founded in 859 AD by Fatima al-Fihri, rooted in Islamic African scholarly tradition, not European models. Its curriculum evolved from African and Arab intellectual exchanges across the Sahara. You see, Africa did not rely only on a written text. It developed one of the most sophisticated oral archival systems in the world. In Mali Empire, griots, known as Geological, were trained historians. They memorized genealogies, political histories, trade agreements, epic narratives like the Epic of Sundiata, for instance, preserved through oral traditions, which recounts the founding of the Mali Empire around 1235. This is not folklore in the dismissive sense. It is structured historical memory passed through discipline, training. Modern African scholars have emphasized that oral tradition in Africa functions as archive, philosophy, political record. History did not need paper to exist. The wealth of the Mali Empire is not first known through European accounts. It is documented in African and North African scholarly networks. Texts like the Tariq al-Fatash describe the scale of governance, taxation, and trade systems. Mansa Musa's reign from 1312 to 1337 is recorded not only through external observers, but through the administrative memory of the empire itself. Gold production zones like Bambuk, Bure, Wangare, and controlled through structured systems of tributes and trades. African economic systems included regulated markets, caravans, taxation, diplomatic trade agreements. Gold was not just abundant, it was managed. The idea that Africa was resource-rich but disorganized collapses when you examine how these systems were coordinated internally. African cities were not accidental settlements. They were intentionally designed. In Benin City, governance was structured under the Oba, supported by the council and guild systems. The city's layout reflected political hierarchy, social organization, economic specialization. The famous Benin Wall was not just defensive, they marked administrative and territorial organization. In Ife, urban life was tied to spiritual and political systems. Ife was seen as sacred center, but also functioned as a hub for craftsmanship, a center for metallurgy, political authority in Yoruba cosmology. Meanwhile, Great Zimbabwe reflects indigenous architectural intelligence, Its construction techniques show knowledge of load distribution, environmental adaptation, long-term settlement planning. These were not borrowed systems. They were developed locally, refined over generations. African knowledge systems were deeply scientific, though not always labeled that way. In Timbuktu, scholars calculated lunar cycles, prayer times using astronomical positioning, seasonal changes for agriculture. In ancient Kemet, that's Egypt, knowledge systems included geometry used in land measurement. In Ethiopia, the rock-hewn churches of Lalibela demonstrate geological understanding, precision planning, long-term labor coordination. These are African solutions to African environment. What colonial systems did was not introduce civilizations. They disrupted continuity. The Berlin Conference did more than divide lands. It disconnected knowledge systems, replaced indigenous education with colonial curricula, reframed African knowledge as inferior or non-existent, or oral historians were diminished, manuscripts were neglected, institutions were restructured. And over time, Africans themselves were taught to doubt their own history. So let's be clear, Africa does not need validation to prove it had civilization. Africa recorded its own history. Africa built its own systems. Africa understood its own world. External accounts may confirm it, but they are not the foundation. The foundation is African. So if this changed your perspective, kindly share, because you see, reclaiming African history is not just about correcting the past. It is about restoring memory, identity, and truth. I'll see you in the next one.